Welcome to the show, after the show, it happens right after the show. Cheers! So, how expensive is Finding Nemo? Not really Finding Nemo, just Nemo.
Just Nemo. The movie itself is quite expensive to make, more than it cost the dentist to get the fish.
$94 million, but it made $940 million.
Wow, that's quite a scale.
I know, quite a scale, exactly 10 times as much.
Yeah.
Pretty successful.
Very
also,
successful.
like, drastically lower budget than most modern day Pixar films, which is almost always $200 million.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty
What
fascinating.
do you know? What do you know?
So, this is an interesting video because it doesn't have nearly as much to do with lore, but like the actual like difficulty of this dentist going from Sydney Harbor to the Great Barrier Reef
In a boat.
in a boat
Yeah.
and collecting something.
Yeah.
Um,
It would take over a day. Pretty much. In the boat he had.
in the boat that he had.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that's like an interesting thing though, because I feel like I've always assumed that he drove the boat back to Sydney.
Yeah, me too.
And I don't think that I've even been to Australia, and I don't even think that I realized how far the Great Barrier Reef is from Sydney.
Right. So, I know, because you think of like the Great Barrier Reef and Sydney are like the two huge things, and they're not close to each other at all.
Right.
Yeah, but like, it's interesting because, like, I guess it's conceivable that he drives the boat, that he like loads it on a trailer and drags it to Sydney in a car or something, and then launches it at the reef, and then goes out. But even that is a 15-hour drive.
It's a lot of trekking.
Yeah.
For one fish.
For one fish!
That he has in a plastic bag.
Yeah.
Which you've been with us before, like on real life journeys. Like when we drove, this is like a real world example of almost the same thing. So my senior year of high school,
Yeah.
I chose not to go to like beach week, you know, like the senior week thing.
Yeah.
And instead, mom and dad took us to the Florida Keys, where we stayed in like a little like place, and we
Yeah,
went to go like
it's cool.
snorkeling and stuff.
Massive sunburns.
Yes, we did. But we collected like sea urchins and a handful of like hermit crabs
Yeah.
and one damselfish.
Right.
And I remember we had like styrofoam coolers with aerators in the minivan with us the entire like 14-hour drive back.
Yes, it was long.
It was long.
Yeah, it was. I mean, not only is it long, but it's like difficult, and it controls everything you do on the drive home, because it's like, you want to stop for lunch? Well, we can't turn the car off because then the bubbler won't be running or the oxygen won't be going, and
Right.
you know, something like that. It's like, well, what are we gonna do about the hotel? Well, we got to get the hotel. First thing I do is get the fish upstairs, because you know,
It's
all these little things. Like your whole trip revolves around keeping these fish alive.
right. It's surprisingly easy to like kill fish if you are not doing the right things.
Right. Yes. And if you've spent, you know, like the amount of time it took to get the like Nemo, I don't know, it would need to be a big focus. But like that boat in particular, and I could be wrong, but my assumption would be that like launching it and taking it out of the water is not like a simple process. Like if you have a 23-foot boat, it seems, I don't know.
I think that probably depends on like your skill as a boater, because I know for me, like in all of the never released footage of launching boats in Vermont
Yeah,
that I have, that was
Yeah.
supposed to be a vlog from last year that never posted.
it's out there.
It's out there, maybe one day.
Who knows?
That'll be some bonus content.
Yeah.
I am very not good at it. Like, I mean, I know how to like navigate a trailer and do all the stuff and like make it go into the water, but yeah, you're not wrong. Like I would have been doing like a 16-foot boat, and this is like a considerably larger boat. Yeah.
Well, even then, though, the cost is still high because, one, you're still traveling 30 hours by car, and you'd still have about 4 hours at sea worth of gas, 30 hours of gas on the road, much of which is going to get bad fuel economy because you're pulling
the trailer.
Pulling the trailer.
So I think what it comes down to is one way or another, it's a lot.
It's a lot, and I still don't think he could have gotten back the next day.
No.
Like, there's no way.
Okay,
I don't
so
think
from the perspective of like, this is obviously a movie and it doesn't really matter, and like
Right.
nobody, probably almost nobody, other than maybe if you lived in Australia, which would be an interesting perspective to think like, oh really, like he collected him on the Great Barrier Reef and then just like casually like jaunted down. That would literally be like in an inverse kind of way, being like, I'm going to go to the Florida Keys and then just like head back to my house in Maine real quick.
Right.
You know, and it's like, no.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, though.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you put that in, like, we should have put, like, an American comparison.
I know,
Like,
I know.
yeah, this would be like if you just picked up some lobsters and we're like, all right, heading back home to Maine.
To Maine, or
Where
like
they
if
already
you're,
have lobsters.
or if you're a
Bad
West
example.
Coaster, it's like got him in South California, now I gotta drive to North
Washington.
California. That state's so big.
It is. It's massive. Is it half the size of the moon?
Oh, good question. Good question.
The Great Barrier Reef sure is. I'll tell you what.
Barrier.
The Great Barrier Reef, that thing is big.
It is pretty big. Oh man, but no, I thought this was interesting because the whole time we were going through it, I kept wondering whether or not I was going to have paid more for my clownfish Earl than the dentist had paid for his.
Oh, yeah.
I was
you didn't.
I was worried that I was gonna lose that battle.
That would have been impressive on your part. And
Yeah.
you'd have quite the valuable fish that's been alive for like 12 years now or something.
Yeah, I got it in 2009,
That's like 10
January of
years.
2009. Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah.
Still good. It's a 10-year-old fish. How long do clownfish even live?
The longest clownfish the oldest clownfish that I've seen was a pair that were 24 years old
Whoa.
and still breeding.
What?
Yeah,
Clownfish are old, man.
clownfish are old.
They are old.
I will tell you that I will be super upset when mine dies because it lived with me in my college dorm room, 2 different college apartments, the house that we started Super Carlin Brothers in, and then finally when I moved into my new home, I didn't reset up an aquarium right away, is when it made it to the aquarium at Center in the Square, which is now a public aquarium that is free. So if you are ever in Roanoke and want to visit Earl, he is
He's there.
the only Picasso clownfish in the 8,000 gallon reef. So
Oh man, it's funny when stuff like this is like obviously whatever, fish crossing the ocean, gets into a dentist's office, saves his son, no big deal. I can believe that, but it's like the dentist got the boat back.
I almost hiccuped. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Also, the other most unbelievable part of this movie is when he just casually scoops Nemo out of the tank with the bag.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Maybe some common like freshwater thing where there's nowhere to hide, but in my experience, having watched you and Dad, who are big time fish people, over the course of like 20 years, getting a fish out of a tank where there's stuff to hide, especially like a saltwater tank, like near impossible.
Oh, very, very difficult. Like, and typically the method you would use is by taking a like clear box, placing it down into like the bottom corner of the tank, and then using your hand to basically like shimmy the fish along until it got trapped in the corner, and then like shoot it in, and then put your hand over it and pull it out.
Gotcha.
So that would be the way that I would do it, but even then, the fish is only going to be swimming in open water, like, if there's nothing for it to hide behind. And you have like a
Right.
volcano in a chest and like a little scuba hat.
Right,
Scuba
exactly.
hat.
Scuba hat, scuba dude.
Scuba dude.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know about that either. I'm always like, God, no, there's no way, man. You wouldn't catch him that easy.
He also doesn't put nearly enough air in the bag. Like, there's a finesse to it. You know, you gotta like grab the top of the bag and then like...
God, they didn't do their research on this movie. I tell you, those people at Pixar don't know
People
what
at
they're
Pixar.
doing.
It is so funny though because they do their research,
know.
and it's like I feel bad pointing out the area that's like a bit stretchy.
Right.
When like we just said, like so much of the movie is talking fish. Anyway,
Right.
Like a pelican that agrees to help a clownfish.
Well, okay. So the other thing why I feel like there's no way he drove it, or why it's important that he drove the boat to and from, is because that's what Marlon and Dory are looking for in Sydney, is the boat, right?
Oh, so we didn't talk about this in the video. I'm sorry. You're right. That's
Yeah.
true. But Marlon and Dory do travel the same distance, which is somehow more believable because they travel via the EAC,
Which is real.
which is a real thing.
Yeah, that's
And-
cool. I didn't know that.
No, yeah, me either. I mean, I knew that ocean currents were a thing, but I didn't realize that one in particular was. But so the idea that they could have like gotten into like a slipstream, so to speak,
Yeah.
is like somewhat possible.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want to see where the actual track of does it actually go from the Great Barrier Reef all the way down to Sydney?
I don't know.
Okay, that'd be interesting to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that in the video. I thought we would, but it turned out that doing all the math took up most of the time.
Most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
that
happens
was a
sometimes.
math video. You're welcome. Hope you enjoyed math on math.
Math on math. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate your support on Patreon. Bye.
Bye.